Hi guys, welcome to TechCity Insights. I'm Shalewa Williams, and today we'll be discussing Microsoft's AI for Good initiative. And I have here with me a lawyer and Microsoft's government affairs lead for Middle East and Africa, Mr. Mike Yeh. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes. So before we go into Microsoft's AI for Good initiative, I'd like us to discuss a little bit on AI. I mean, such an exciting and interesting phenomenon that we hear all over around the world today. Yeah. It's been tagged as a main driver of the fourth industrial revolution. So it's that powerful to improve lives and impact on economies. What do you think is responsible for this drive?
I think there are a number of things that have happened recently. The most important are two factors, I would say. One is just the increase in computing power. And so over time, computers have gotten just more and more powerful. And you see this with the basic Internet of Things devices. They're connected, they're able to collect all sorts of data. And that's the second point, which is that today we have more and more data. And so this combination of compute power and data has now allowed us to move into the fourth industrial revolution and power things like artificial intelligence, where we can piece together, machines can learn. Facial recognition is actually a great example of how over time machines can understand complex patterns and teach itself how to recognize some of those patterns with greater accuracy.
Yeah, so as a government affairs lead for Middle East and Africa, obviously we're doing some work in Africa. What do you think the impact of AI is on many African economies, developing economies?
Yeah, I think we're in the very early stages. Many people have talked about this decade as the decade of digital transformation. And it's really a transformation that began at the beginning of the decade, so now almost 9 years ago. What we're seeing now is really the digitization of everything. And I think we expect that artificial intelligence will drive a lot of the future innovation. I think for Africa, it's also a really interesting opportunity. At Microsoft, we talk about the power of hyperscale cloud. And we talk about its ability to democratize technology. And what that means essentially is we've built a global cloud service. But that means that a developer in Lagos can access the same advanced technologies, artificial intelligence services that we provide to developers in Silicon Valley, in Seattle, in London, in Tel Aviv. And so I think that's going to be a huge opportunity for Africa, where anyone, once they're connected to the internet, can access the most innovative technology at a very cost-effective price, develop apps, and arguably then sell it into a global market.
Yeah, so I mean, AI seems really exciting whenever I hear of it. And I think what is more exciting is that Africa seems to have the markets to drive AI. And what I mean by that is that if you look at the statistics of the median age in Africa, it's about 19.5. Yes. That's the median age. And you compare it with countries like Germany, the US, and China, who have their median ages at 40, between 30-something and 40-something. So I mean, juxtaposing that with Africa's demographic boom and how disruptive AI is to be, what would you say is the application of AI within social and economic context in Africa?
Yeah, we see a great opportunity. Recently, we've made a number of investments in Nigeria specifically. We've opened up an African Development Center, but we also have worked with another company to bring in a lot of our customer service and support teams into Nigeria. And that reflects just the talent that we see in the market. The other thing that will be interesting, I think, is how do governments in Africa create and really encourage tech startups? Because I think that's really the power. Once you have access to the massive hyperscale cloud services, then how do you get people experimenting, building solutions, trying different things? And ultimately, I think those are going to be the growth drivers for the continent.
Yeah, speaking about empowering startups, Microsoft's AI for Good initiative is doing something about empowering people towards taking sustainable actions towards a more accessible world. In layman terms, for people who have never heard about AI, Microsoft's AI for Good initiative, what is Microsoft's AI for Good initiative?
So it's a program that's pretty new, but at the same time, I would say its origins in some ways aren't that surprising. So Microsoft, we've always had a philanthropies team. And as part of that, we've tried to make software available in the past to nonprofits, to other companies that are trying to do charitable goods or trying to help create a societal benefit. And so what we've done now with cloud services, we've taken that same concept and we've given cloud credits, but we've also taken it one step further. And so we're trying to help and really fund companies or people with ideas in terms of how they can use cloud services to really transform and solve ideally global issues. And so AI for Good is a program today that has 4 pillars for us. There's AI for Earth, which is really about sustainability, AI for accessibility, and there's actually a great example there that's available on YouTube right now, which is it's called Seeing AI. So we've essentially created an app now that you can put onto a smartphone, and you use the camera to read a business card, for example, and it will read it out loud to somebody who is blind or sight impaired, right? So that's an example of some of the solutions we're piloting. The 2 other ones are AI for humanitarian action and then AI for cultural heritage.
So I mean, walking me through these different pillars of AI, I want to know the idea, inspiration behind it, because it would seem that Microsoft wants to be the, should I say, the one-stop place for AI, basically. So could you walk me through the interconnectedness of, the 4 pillars of AI for Good initiative?
Yeah, I think those are 4 pillars that we feel where cloud and AI in particular have the potential to really transform and bring real change to people, right? And so if you think about AI for Earth, the most common solution that we've seen today is really around taking massive amounts of data. And so you think about conservation in Africa, right? Historically, if you think about how we protect animals and those that are near extinction and how to protect them from poaching, that's largely done manually today. And so the idea now is to figure out how do you take, say, drones, and to be able to scan an area, use AI to identify where the animals are, the type of animals, and to be able to record that, right? And so again, it's taking massive amounts of data, combining it with computing power to create pragmatic solutions and guidance for people who are on the ground. So they understand, all right, this is where the animals are, these are their patterns, this is where they will go, this is where we need to be in order to protect them. And so I think with all 4 of these pillars, the main thing we're looking for is areas, again, where massive data and compute can bring real pragmatic and day-to-day change. I think the other idea and origin for AI for Good is to figure out how do we use this as, in some ways, a proof of concept, right? AI is still such a new technology, but if we can encourage people to start experimenting and building solutions, in some ways we can create a model and help demonstrate how other people can be using AI and hopefully spur an ecosystem where there are more and more solutions, especially in these 4 areas.
Yeah, great. Seems like a very interesting initiative. I would like to know the opportunities for people in Africa for the AI for Good initiative. I mean, you're speaking about encouraging people.
Yes.
And like I mentioned, Africa is that place that would like to get involved in, issues of AI and things like that. So what are the opportunities for people in Africa for the AI for Good initiative?
Yeah. So our programs are open to everyone. There's an application process, and I think it continues to change, so the deadlines may evolve, but the latest information will be on our website. In general, I would say, though, that the idea is to come up with solutions that, again, take massive amounts of data, combine it with compute power using hyperscale cloud services, right? And you show how you can make a tangible impact. Even if it's a simple impact or simple story, I think those are the ones we want to show. The conservation one is a great example, right? It's not too sophisticated, but it's something that no one's been able to do before. And now we've created a record for rangers, for others, that they can better use to do their jobs.
Okay, so in further breaking it down, just so that people watching can really understand what this is about, I would use myself as an example. If I wanted to be part of the AI for Microsoft's AI for Good initiative, what exactly do I have to do? If I'm passionate about wildlife and Earth, what do I have to do? Do I have to take recordings and then upload it to certain sites?
My guess is it will largely lean on a proposal right now. And so the idea is to write up how you see what is the problem that needs to be solved, what are the issues and ideas for solving it, and then how does that pull in AI, right? So how can AI be a factor in that? And all of these are things that we're looking for people to do. It's not massive amounts of custom AI work or anything, but the idea is, how do you take simple data points, use our commercially available services, right? So again, these are the same services that anyone can get access to with an internet connection, and then build a solution or an app. And then prove that concept. And the idea with our grants is that we provide funding for people to actually get that done. And the other thing is even figuring out how to submit ideas, right? Because even if people don't fully understand the technology or what needs to be done to create a final solution, those are areas where we can help. But what we really value from your viewers and from people across the continent will be getting the ideas for things where you see pragmatic solutions to real problems.
Yeah, interesting. Bringing it back to Africa now, what do you see the AI for Good initiative achieving in Africa in the next 5 years? Technological predictions and all of that.
Yeah, I want to encourage people to think big, right? So when I think about Africa, I would say, take your biggest problems and then figure out, all right, how can we take small steps using data or the technology to find solutions, right? And so when I look across the continent, as you've indicated, I mean, one of the big issues is just one of the advantages is youth, but I think one of the challenges is also employment for everyone, right? And so again, that could be another area where you think about, how do you use AI to match people with opportunities and to create a system, right, where you can drive a more efficient workforce. Agriculture is one we talked about. Conservation is another one, right? I think all of these are really interesting issues. I think about drought. Is there something AI can do with drought and looking at sensors? And so that's I don't want to suggest I know all the answers, but hopefully this is where I think we really lean on the ideas of the people, right, to come up with just different ways of thinking about how to deal with some of these issues. We were talking earlier today with my colleagues about traffic in Lagos and how it's gotten worse. In theory, there's going to be an AI solution for that, right?
Yes.
How do you think about, again, creating data points, smart highways, and helping manage traffic more efficiently and better, and ideally maybe even driving people to more car sharing and other models, right?
I think that's something Lagosians will definitely look forward to, the traffic situation. Thank you so much for talking with us on TechCity Insights. Thank you very much.
It's great to talk.
All right, guys, that's it on TechCity Insights. That was such a power-packed and insightful conversation. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at TechCity NG to get more insightful discussions and interviews such as this. I'm Shalewa Williams, and I'll see you next time.